Hello Internet, I am Apples the Hero, and welcome to a first look at the new god Thoth. Thoth, actually. I'm in PTS, and well, this is an interesting god. I have done recordings of this before, but I kind of forgot that the settings on PTS reset themselves, so I didn't have it set to windowed, so OBS didn't actually record anything. But anyway, this is actually the recolor of his skin, not the default skin. He's actually really tall compared to other gods, hence why the health bar thing is actually covering his head. Maybe that's actually just a bug that they need to fix, but you know, he does seem to be pretty tall. His kit basically focuses around not doing that. His kit focuses around using this 3, which is called the Glyph of Pain, if I remember correctly. Yep. And what it does is increase the damage and range of your auto attacks and abilities. That's it, that's all it does. But it's also the heart of his entire kit, and allows him to fight at a much greater distance than any other god, which will make him a fantastic pick for mid lane if you ignore the fact that he has horrendous clear early on. And I almost died to a wave there. Let's clear that. I am going to go and get Soul Reaver first item, because I'm going 1v3 and I need to be able to clear them quickly, and I need the extra damage on them so that I can actually do what I'm supposed to do and kill them. You can stack on this guy. Stacking does work pretty well, as you already have to stack in order to fill up his passive, which gets you a stack of 4 flat pen for every 30 kills you have. And those kills are including minion kills. Thank God. So basically, if you're stacking for an item, you're also stacking his passive, which is one of the reasons why he's a mid-game god. Not early game, not late game, not early to mid, not mid to late, just mid. Because mid is the point where no one's tanky enough to need percentage pen, and flat pen is still useful. Any later than that, and well, he's not going to perform very well. This is his ult. It does a lot of damage. I like it. It's gonna be where pretty much all of his damage comes from, because it does, I think it has 120% scaling or something. I don't know, what's the scaling if it's got 50 power and it's got 70 on the ult? What's 70 over 50? It's 140%. Oh my, that is a lot of scaling on an ult. I think that's the highest scaling on an ult at all. I don't think there even is an ult with higher scaling than that. Which obviously is super strong and is going to make building power on him really, really good. But I'm not actually building that much power on him. Instead, I'm opting for a little bit less power and having Poly and Soul Reaver, because Poly is really strong on this guy. Since you spend most of the game throwing basics out, because his 3, not his 3, his 2 and his 1 give him extra damage on his basic, but it also turns him into ability. So you would think that would make building something like... That wasn't large enough. You'd think building something like Poly wouldn't work too well because of the fact that his abilities turn his basics into abilities. But since you're spending most of the match throwing out basics, even in form of abilities, you pretty much always get the opportunity for a poly hit in after using an ability. Meaning that you can pretty much always pull off poly damage. And poly damage is a lot of damage. It does more damage than his abilities a lot of the time. Ah, shit. No. Oh, minions! Minions save me! As you see, he's starting to do a lot more damage now, thanks to the fact that I have more power and Soul Reaver. But right at the start, since the base stats on his abilities are fairly low, he's not doing all that much damage, which is going to be a hindrance for him. Because it means that he'll start off at a disadvantage due to having poor early clear. He cannot clear a wave with his 1 at the start of the game. I love that ability so much. Did you see that damage? That was so much damage. Oh, the 3 also buffs the basic attacks and makes them do extra damage on towers too, which as I'm sure any seasoned Smite player knows, is always good. But damage on towers still isn't that great, so he's not going to be a pusher. He's just capable of attacking a tower when he has to. But when he's got poly online as well, that will mean that he can actually manage to push down a tower, but obviously not as well as someone like a Loki, or an Izanami, or a Bastet, or actual pushers can. Still worth knowing. Oh, she's dead. Cool. Also, there is the question of whether you level the ult. Level the 3. I level the 3. I don't think it's a normal thing that people do. And did you see that poly hit? That poly hit was pretty big. It basically gives him an additional ability, and he does need that extra damage as far as I'm concerned, because the damage just from his abilities, certainly earlier on in the game, isn't enough. You can't 100-0 someone with that damage, so you need to have the extra damage online. Personally, I level the 1 and then the 3. The 1 so that you can get the wave clear, and then the 3 so that you get even more damage on your wave clear. And extra damage on your basics, and then obviously the ult is the highest priority thing to level. You just don't get the opportunity to level it as often, and one of the reasons why you want to go cooldown, so you can level it as much as possible.
Let's pick up the pace. Immortal!
That was flawless, I think. I mean, she got a couple of abilities off on me, but you know. Right, let's see how much damage I can do on low time else, and yeah, that was dead. The range on that is actually really misleading. It goes a lot further than it shows. Right, we're now coming into the mid game, and he's got full stacks on his passive right now. This is where Thoth, or Thoth it should be, is at his strongest. This is the point where he can actually push down towers like that, and do quite a lot of damage, as you can see right there. I am playing a little bit risky here, but I have got my dash up, so I can do that, and then miss my basic from it. The 2 after you dash away gives you extra damage on your next basic, and turns the basic into a slow. Great for chasing and for getting away. And just like all the other abilities, the range of the dash and range of the boosted basic increases if it goes through a sigil glyph. The glyph doesn't stack, by the way. You can only get a bonus from one glyph, which is fair. Getting an extra 60 range on anything would make it so that you could stand away, far enough away that nothing could hit you. Oh, that was so good! I am starting to like this guy. When I first played him, I said that his damage wasn't good enough, but now that I'm starting to get better at him, and my positioning isn't off as much, I can actually use him effectively enough that I don't have a problem with it anymore. Anyway, Sanctuary is not actually that good to get on him, because if you're out of position, then a Sanctuary probably isn't going to save you very much, and Beat is probably better, but if you're playing this guy right, you shouldn't be out of position ever, because positioning of this guy is the most important thing, really. If you get the positioning wrong with this guy, you deserve to die, because he has that extra range from his Glyph of Pain, that it is just so good to be actually landing your abilities properly. And when you play him right, you can do stuff like that. And he is a lot of fun once you start playing him right. As I found out, because this is the 4th game I've done, and yeah, I think I might actually be getting pretty good with him.
Your day of judgment is nigh.
That might just be me with my bias. Oh, Polly. I love Polly. I've actually almost got enough for the last item, which is, of course, Ratatouille, because Ratatouille is one of the best items, one of the best magical items you can ever get, because of how much power it gets. When I get Ratatouille, the power I have compared to the power I have now, well, it'll double the magical power I have. And double power doesn't actually mean double damage, because there is some base stats there, but since the scaling is so high and the base stats are so low, it's a massive increase in damage. And once Ratatouille's online, that is when he gets to his strongest point. Before that, he could do a lot of damage, but after you get that, you start getting the damage you get with something like a damage buff, and you get to one-shot the entire team with your ult. That's so good.
Your day of judgment is nigh. Now you die.
If you watched any other people's videos on this guy, you've probably heard people say that how high skill cap this guy has, and I would have to agree with them. This guy is not easy to play. You do need to practice with him in order to get good enough, because of how vital positioning is, and how, well...
Your day of judgment is nigh. Try and keep up.
Oh shit, I missed! Polly! I'm gonna win this actually pretty quickly now. Interesting thing with the interaction between the 1 and the 2, if you have the 1 up and have the 2 up, the damage from the 2 will actually go off first. Oh, I'm so fucked. I need to back off and try and kill them again. I put this up so I can start doing more damage on the Phoenix, and again to get Polly hits off, and that is Phoenix and ult. Now, if you look at the numbers, it doesn't look like his sigil is actually going to give a massive damage increase, but when you compare the damage with the sigil up and the sigil not up, it's really noticeable, and I didn't realise that she was up already.
Now you done. Let's pick up the pace. Your day of judgment is now.
See, I messed that up. I went through the sigil before I fired the shot, so I lost the range. His abilities don't actually have a massive range on them. It's only a range of 55, but it goes up to 85 when it's through a sigil, which is a long way for an ability to go. But it feels like it's not going to go far enough a lot of the time, and that is one of the major things which makes him difficult to pick up, because his range is so different to any other characters because of his glyphs. If he didn't have glyphs, well, it wouldn't be Thoth would start, but that is glyphs. That damage. So tasty. But if he didn't have his glyphs, then, you know, see, the range increase in there. If I stood closer, I'd have got the damage in, but if I stood further away, I get more damage in, because the glyph is up. And you pretty much have to try and stay behind the glyphs at all times, because of how vital they are to his kit. Without the glyphs up, his damage goes down so much. Oh! Freya ult! Damn it! I forgot about the Freya ult.
I could stand with my beak.
Ah, I was hoping to just fire off the ult early and take them all out, but no. Since my positioning was off, Bastet could get enough damage on me and Freya could fly up into the sky where I couldn't hit her. Yeah, that was my bad. I shouldn't have stayed so close. But again, that's the point with Thoth. You're supposed to stay back as much as possible, and if you're in that close, then you deserve to get killed like that, because that's not how you're supposed to play the guy. And in that sense, he is a well-designed god. I think he will do pretty well in competitive, but only if they buff his base stats so that he has a bit of a better early game. Because his early game at the moment is so bad that he could easily get destroyed before he has the chance to come online. Oh shit!
Your day of judgment is nigh.
Oh, the Phoenix back up again. Well, I suppose I did just die, so you know. See, I should have put that up earlier. I feel like I should just go in and take out the Phoenix while I have the chance, and then dash away and back. Yeah, they get stuck on minions. Okay, that's good, good. I've got enough for 3k pot now. This is where Thoth, as far as I'm concerned, starts to fall off. Because he's got flat pen built in and not percentage pen, that extra damage he had earlier, which is ability damage, has been bounced off of. See that range? Its range is so good! Ah, that range is just ridiculously strong. Like, having his glyph of pain up really often is basically the reason why you build cooldowns on this guy. Because, yes, that's game. And I almost 100%. Okay, maybe he doesn't fall off that much late game, but keep in mind that these are really squishy because they're 8 levels under me. But yeah, really, really bad early game. It picks up quite quickly, but I think in a conquest, when he's a mid, he'll struggle clearing the first couple of waves. So if you're wanting to play him like that, then you probably would need to have the jungler sit next to you with the wave so that you can clear it properly, which sets your entire team back a bit. Once that's over though, you can get to a high enough level where you can start clearing the wave on his own with his one. And once that happens, then he can start to steamroll, because once he's at that level, his ult starts doing enough damage that he can take people down to 0 from above half health, which is massive, especially given with the 3-up that even increases the range of the ult, meaning that the ult, as I probably said earlier, has as much range as a Ra ult, obviously needing to charge up, but that's bad off because it does much more damage. You can actually fire it off earlier so that it does as much damage as a Ra ult, meaning that you can tailor the ult to the HP of your target, which is a really interesting thing and will add an extra layer of skill to this guy's kit, if there wasn't enough skill already with the 3. The 3 is where pretty much all of the other skill comes in, because you need to be fighting behind that 3 at all times. If someone's getting too close, then you need to get out of there, and because the 2 has such a long cooldown, then you need to make sure that you're not engaging when you can't win the fight. Because if you can't win the fight, then you don't have your escape, and you are dead, because he is really squishy. Like, let's look at his defenses here. Is 54 and 30. Like, his defenses at level 20 are about as strong as these physical gods there, and even Freya has at level 13 and 12. So, yeah. Probably one of the squishiest gods in the game. I don't know whether he's more or less squishy than Freya, I haven't looked at his raw stats yet, but he might be, which would make him the squishiest god in the game. But obviously made up for the ridiculous amount of damage he can put out once he gets going. But as I've already said, the problem is positioning and getting him going in the first place, because his early clear is awful, to the point where I'd even say don't level the dash as to start with, just level the 1 so you can get that wave clear online sooner, because even if you have that dash so you can get out of situations, if you can't clear the wave, then having the dash is meaningless, because you're never going to win a fight, so there's no point in going in to engage anyway. You might as well just stay back and not worry about it. But, you know, since I've already done that, let's have a look at his raw stats. So, at level 20, he's got that 61 physical, 30 magical protections, and yeah, 355 movement speed. I think that's pretty low base. I have to take a look at that in a moment. Alright, this 3 hits, so it technically scales with 75% of your magical power. Not that much for magical, but quite a bit, I think. No, it would be more like 80. This one's only 60% of your magical power, but obviously 1 hit is going to do as much as 2 hits from your hieroglyphic assault, and it's also a slow. And of course you've got Glyph of Pain, which, yeah, the bonus damage from abilities scales with 10% of your power, basic attack damage scales with 5% of your power. It's just good stuff, and is a surprisingly large increase in damage once it gets going. And the ult is, as I predicted, 140% of your magical power. I'm pretty sure that is the highest magical scaling on any ult. I cannot think of a single god that has higher scaling than that. That is crazy. Let's compare that to what I'm pretty sure is the squishiest god in the game, Hell. Her base stats, level 20, exactly the same, but less health. About 200 less health, I think. So, not quite as squishy as Hell, but almost. And Yeah. Okay, that is actually high scaling. I was wrong. I take it back. That is a little bit higher than the damage from Hell. Obviously, Hell has heals, so that's a bit unfair to compare. Well, let's find someone who has really high scaling on an ult. Who can one-shot? Let's see, Kukul Khan. Kukul Khan can one-shot people. Oh, Scylla. Scylla got buffed recently. Scylla's ult, 120%, and has 75% on a 1, 90% on a 2. So, you know, scaling on the regular abilities is about average, but I think Ymir has 150%. There we go. So Ymir still has the highest scaling on an ult, but Thoth comes pretty damn close with us 140%. Wrong one. Oh, scroll thing. I mean, that's 120%. I think normal thing for that is 120%. Yeah. So, if you want to build to just spam his ult, then I'd say just build cooldowns and a lot of power, and another 17 shard. Because he's got that flat pen, you don't need to worry about getting much more pen. Obviously, if you get some more pen, then you're going to be doing true damage, which is fun. But get lots of power, cooldowns and pen, and you can just spam his ult like crazy, and you can just use the 2 as an escape and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, because the ult actually fires really fast, even though it has a really long cast time, you can't dodge it unless you have the craziest reaction times ever with a leap. But in like casuals, ping time would be lower than that, but you basically can't dodge it. It's a little bit hard to aim, but you can't dodge it. Yeah, as I was saying, level 13, he's got max stacks on his maximum possible stacks on his passive. So by the time about level 15 or 16, he kind of starts reaching his peak in terms of pen. Well, obviously, that ult is going to scale you higher and higher. So yeah, I might have made an original misjudgment on him. So he might not be just an early game god. Early game, what am I saying? He might not be just a mid game god. He might have a better late game than I've been playing him with because of the way I've been building him, or possibly just because of the mode it is, because the levels of the other gods start catching up on it. When he comes out, I'll give him a proper test against actual players. The reason why I didn't this time is because, well, it's PTS. I'd be queuing for this for an hour and still not get in, so I'm not doing that. It's not fun. It wouldn't be worth it either, because I probably wouldn't even get Thoth. And I don't want to do this, because that would just be Thoth versus Thoth. I get why you do that, get everyone a chance to test him out, but you don't get to test him out what he's really like in a real game. You're testing out what he is like again in a mirror match, which is never an accurate representation of what he's like in the actual game. Like Terra is a really bad matchup against Terra. That fight is boring, but Terra herself is actually really strong, and I made a misjudgment of that. But you know, that is Thoth. Horrible early game, fantastic mid game, possibly an even better late game, depending on how you build him. He can one-shot pretty much anyone with his ult, because he's got so much pen. Especially squishies. He seems to be focused around destroying squishies because it's flat pen, not really tanky characters, because otherwise it would be percentage pen. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.